Thank you for watching this video. Before we get started, I'd just like to shout out my channel on the side, Cable Classics. This is me and a group of some of my best friends watching movies late at night, and then I edit them together into short little highlight reels of the funniest and most entertaining parts, or some insight. So check it out. We've done Deep Blue Sea, Roadhouse, Fear, The Howling, Excalibur, and Sylvester Stallone's Over the Top, and there's plenty more to come. I'd really like this channel to reach a certain sub count and start to get a continued fan base, so if you can support it in any way, I'd really appreciate it, and please check out its Reddit page. Thank you. So here we go, the $23.2 million opening weekend on a $21 million international haul on a $46 million worldwide total. Okay, so here's the issue. This movie cost $200 million, and it was produced by Apple, so this creates a weird way of discussing this being a success or not. A lot of people that are defending the film's financial performance are saying, well, Apple doesn't care because as a company they're worth $1 trillion, and ultimately theatrical revenue doesn't matter to them, so this is just extra money they wouldn't have made anyway. Plus they're going for Oscars and prestige and working with high-profile people. I believe Leonardo DiCaprio was paid $30 million for this. So that all happens, that's fine. But the other side of the argument is that Scorsese, in his older years, who has been recently criticizing big-budget Hollywood studio films for being too bombastic and big and not cinema, although obviously all this has been miscued and everything and talked about in an unfair manner, he's also himself making big-budget $200 million, 3.5-hour I don't want to say self-indulgent, let's say passion projects. I personally wasn't a fan of The Irishman. I know a lot of people are. I know it's critically acclaimed and got several Oscar noms. I think it was one of his worst movies. I think it was a weaker Scorsese film. I don't think it's a bad movie, but I definitely don't like it. I don't think the CGI thing with the actors worked at all. I think it was strange he even did that. It was very obvious Robert De Niro was an old man with a CGI face. I'm still kind of confused why he made that movie and what he was thinking with it. It's a mess. That movie cost it cost over $200 million for Netflix, and they didn't make any of that money back, and it didn't actually win at the Oscars. It was nominated for 10 Oscars, but it didn't win. So this film is also critically acclaimed. It has 89 on Metacritic, 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. Lots of critics are praising the film. It has gotten some backlash. The pushback is coming from its depiction of the Native American characters, especially the wife character of Leonardo DiCaprio's character and how she kind of lays in bed a lot, I've heard in the movie, or she isn't as much of a presence. I believe the actress's name is Lily Gladstone. And then I've heard things about Brendan Fraser's performance as being completely over the top. There's a lot of debate over this movie, if it deserves to be 3.5 hours, if it's boring, what Scorsese's trying to say, even though a lot of the movie's runtime is focused on the Leonardo DiCaprio character and the De Niro character, as opposed to the natives, and there's these awful acts of violence. Should an Italian filmmaker make a movie about this subject matter? All of these things are being discussed right now. I just want to say, I mean, if you're just talking like box office here, that's what we have to do. If we're just talking like success and metrics, I have to personally say, I don't know why studios are kind of making these deals with Scorsese. I get Scorsese, like, he's an artist, he should be able to do what he wants. I get that he's one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. But, you know, it's like he's telling these people, like, hey, give me $200 million, we'll win Best Picture, we'll have something. And then the movie really doesn't pan out. And I feel like this has just happened again here with Apple. This movie didn't need to cost this much money. Like, for Leo to get 30, and I'm sure it's because he's not getting back in from theatrical, but this movie could have been made for half the amount. I mean, I think about There Will Be Blood. That movie cost $25 million. You know what I mean? Like, The Master cost $30 million. You don't need to spend $200 million on a movie like this. Even Oppenheimer cost less than this movie. And that movie made $945 million. So I just don't like this about Scorsese. I don't like in his older years he is making these 3.5-hour movies that are, they feel very personal, but I also think that they're not exactly his most entertaining or showing off the best of his abilities. I think he's trying to make statement movies right now, which is fine. And maybe Wolf of Wall Street was the goodbye film to him being a fun director in that sense, making a fast-paced movie like he used to. I don't know how this is going to pan out. I don't know how this is going to do at the Academy Awards. I don't know how the box office is going to go. I'm going to assume that it has pretty steep drops. I don't think the word of mouth is going to be bad, but I don't think it's going to be great. But it's just to say, like, even though it's Scorsese, we have to acknowledge when he has a bomb. You know, like, remember Hugo? I liked that movie. I saw it in the theater, and it won 5 Academy Awards, but it cost $180 million, and it made like $185 million worldwide. So that was a huge bomb for him. And I think nobody even really talks about Hugo anymore. I hate to say it, it's become a rather forgotten film. Look at Silence. This was a $50 million film. It made $23 million, $7 million domestically. Those are pretty bad numbers. Now let's see, what was its widest release? I'm not exactly sure, because I'm like, was it always limited? Because the opening was 4 theaters, so the widest released was in 1580 theaters. So about 1,600 theaters, so it should have done better, but that just shows you the word of mouth. I mean, The Irishman I don't even want to count, because it really didn't get a release, but 968,000. And then before that, if you look at what Scorsese did, if you look at Wolf of Wall Street, that movie made $406 million on a $100 million budget. So that's where we were at, and that's where we're at now. And you could say, oh, well, it's because people don't get to see movies like this anymore. I don't agree. I think Scorsese is choosing to make these kinds of films right now. And once again, I'm not criticizing him for it. But at the same time, I don't necessarily see how this is going to save cinema. I don't think this is necessarily great for movies. I know some people are going to be like, automatic, this movie's a masterpiece, how dare you? I'm not talking about necessarily the quality of these movies, but Scorsese's career trajectory and how he's using his name and fame right now, and getting certain projects made. I don't know, something about it I don't like. It feels icky to me, and I can't explain it. But that's just a feeling. It doesn't mean anything. But this is a bomb. Let's just get that out of the way. The movie made $40 million, it cost $200 million, and then there's marketing. The film is a bomb. That doesn't mean that it's a huge disaster for Apple or Scorsese or Leo. But some people are going to try to spin it like it's not a bomb when it is a bomb. It got released in 3,600 theaters. Like, this movie could have... And there's really a world where this movie could have opened to $30-40 million, I think, if it had built more hype. Exorcist Believer continues to not be doing great. $108 million. Obviously, it only cost $30 million, but the rights were $400 million. The Taylor Swift Eras Tour continues to dominate. We're at $131 million domestic. I don't think $200 million domestic is out of the question. Probably coming a little bit under. Nightmare Before Christmas has had us another re-release. It's at 81 million, I believe, domestically. And then Hocus Pocus has honestly done pretty well. 4.3 million on this release. That movie's really lasted. And then a bunch of movies that haven't done very well, like Saw X, The Creator, Haunting in Venice. It's unfortunate. Really, the Taylor Swift film is kind of keeping the box office afloat right now. And Killers of the Flower Moon, to its credit, opening over 20 million. I think that does say a lot about the star power of Leo and the star power of Scorsese, that they could open a 3.5-hour film to that. But at the same time, I hate to say it, Oppenheimer is a comp. It is. You can be like, well, that's not the same thing. I'm like, yeah, it kind of is. Like, Nolan made a 3-hour film about, like, scientists hanging out and talking in rooms for 3 hours. And it made this kind of, it opened to 82 million. Now, Killers didn't have the Barbenheimer thing, but I'm just saying that shows you a difference between how you promote a film, how you have to approach these things. Because I think, hey, if this 3-hour R-rated historical film made this kind of money, why can't Killers of the Flower Moon make $300 million worldwide? I don't think that's crazy. So what did they do wrong is the real question. And I would say it's a mix of runtime. The runtime's an issue, but I just also think they didn't really sell what the story, the premise is about them killing these people off to get their land, and the FBI coming in to investigate. I really think they didn't sell the thriller aspect of the story very well. And I don't think people necessarily got totally what it was about from the trailers. But that's just me. Anyway, I love Scorsese. After Hours rules. King of Comedy rules. Goodfellas is amazing, obviously. I wish him all the best. I just hope before he retires, we get another movie that's one that I like. Whatever. If other people are happy, I'm happy for you. But I just hope we get another Scorsese film that is exciting and has hype again. And because I feel like this movie in a couple years, everyone's going to move on, sort of like what's happened with The Irishman. I could be wrong, but I don't think I don't think anyone's gonna like be talking about this movie outside of Leo memes in the next few years.